Hi, this is Karen Bauer of Transformative Chinese Medicine. Today I'm giving you the second installment of a video series that's discussing classical Chinese medicine and how it's different than the modern Chinese medicine that's practiced by most acupuncturists in the United States today. I practice something called Taoist medicine. It's one of the oldest forms of Chinese medicine, and we have a direct lineage going back about 2,200 years. Modern Chinese medicine was invented by Chairman Mao in the 1950s, so it's not really very traditional medicine. The differences are the modern medicine only uses the primary meridians and a few of the 8 extra meridians, and only for limited uses. What does that mean? Well, classical medicine has many more meridians available to it. We have sinew meridians. Sinew meridians deal with defensive energy. Primary meridians, like they do, we use them the same way they do. That's for day-to-day functioning of the body. Then there are the low vessels. We have 5 completely separate systems of low vessels. Those use blood, and blood is used to do everything from cardiology to heat in the digestive organs. You can use it to treat emotional and psychological problems. They're very broad and deep. Then there's the 8 extras. The traditional Chinese medicine, the modern medicine, does use the 8 extras, but in a very limited way. We have an enormous body of knowledge available to us on the 8 extras, and we can use them to treat things very deep, such as inherited diseases, genetic diseases. We'll do a little bit more on that later. Then the other set of meridians that we're going to discuss today are called the divergent meridians. They're very unique. Almost no one knows about these meridians. They were passed down word of mouth. The references to them in the classical texts are very obtuse, very indirect. So you cannot read the texts and understand them. You have to have someone teach you the divergent meridians. Now, the divergent meridians are very unique. They deal with chronic degenerative diseases. That's going to cover a lot of what we see in our private practice today. So things like autoimmune diseases, and there are hundreds of autoimmune diseases, things like arthritis, diabetes, even things like atherosclerosis. Most of those diseases have an autoimmune process involved. Now, the sinews that we discussed, that's exterior. That's the most surface part of the body. That's your immune system, on your skin and on the lining of your intestines. So that's your first line of defense when anything attacks you from outside, whether it's a pathogen, too much of a climate, too much heat, cold, dryness, whatever. The primaries, those day-to-day maintenance meridians, those are slightly deeper. And then there are the lows, those blood vessels we talked about that use blood to hold things. What they can do is either hold something in latency, that means you're kind of hiding it and making it inert so it doesn't do any harm, but you still have to hang on to it. That's what we call latency. The lows create latency whenever there's a pathology that the primary meridians can't handle on a day-to-day basis. Then there are the 8 extras. Those are those deep meridians that deal with issues of DNA, bone marrow. It's our blueprint for our life. I do a lot of work with the 8 extras. It's the reason I call my practice transformative medicine, because those meridians allow us to change our life, to change our blueprint, to become who we want to be now, not who we have been in the past. But today we're going to focus on the divergence, and those deal with 2 different levels of the body. They deal with that Wei Qi, that defensive energy, the immune system we were talking about, but they also work with the deepest energies that the 8 extras deal with, that DNA, the bone marrow, that level of energy. So they're very unique in that they're the only meridian that can communicate between that most surface energy and the deepest energy. Now, what might you do with that kind of communication? What can they achieve that other meridians cannot? Well, primarily we use them for chronic degenerative diseases. Those are diseases that have come into the body, and over time we have not been able to resolve the pathogen. So the body keeps putting it has many, many ways to try to keep it from reaching the organs. That's the whole goal, is to not let those disease states get into the organs. If they do, then they threaten our life. So we can treat arthritis, we can treat pain in the spine, anything to do with the bones, anything to do with autoimmune disease, anything to do with any kind of chronic intermittent infections, genetic disorders. So one of the things you need to know is that they do two different things. You can take that hot surface immune energy, and you can bury it deep in that cold, deep, profound energy, and that's how you cool off an autoimmune flare-up. You keep it from showing by burying it. You make it latent. The other thing you can do, though, is take disease that has reached that bone level, that deep level, and if the person is strong, you can go into that deep level and you can draw out to the surface level that pathology. So that's a pretty profound function, to be able to draw out deep, important pathologies from the deepest levels of the body. Now, there are a couple of other things you can do with it. We treat any imbalance of right and left. So if people's bodies are a little twisted, we see that in older patients, often one side gets torqued one side or the other. We can balance left and right. We also treat any disease that's intermittent. I think I mentioned that diseases that come and go. So chronic low-grade infections that flare up at times. We can reach those with the divergent meridians as well. So if you're going to use the divergent meridians to take something out of an organ, say you have organ inflammation or you have an organ that is failing, you can, if the person is strong, you would take a divergent meridian suited to that specific organ, and you would ask it to take that hot immune energy, go in after the pathogen, pull the pathogen back out to the surface. But the person has to be strong to do that. If they're weak, you're not going to be able to pull anything out. They have to have the strength to go in and pull that out. It's very hard on the person to go through this experience. You're going to have a healing crisis. Now, if they're strong, you just go in, you get the pathogen, and that's it. It comes right out, no problem. But if a person is weak or they've been sick for a very long time, then the acupuncturist focuses on building up the patient. Well, the divergent meridians are also used to build up all the individual resources that human bodies have. So the kinds of resources I'm talking about are blood, fluids. There are two kinds of fluids: the thin fluids, which are sweat and tears; the thick fluids, which are hormones and neurotransmitters. And then you can also build up the Jing, that's that deep, deep energy, the bone marrow, the brain matter, the spinal cord, our DNA. We can also build up that deep level. And as you build up your resources, build Qi, build blood, build the Jing, you build them up. And once the person has enough resources, you can easily go in and just take those pathogens out, and it won't do any harm. So they're really quite magical. They do a tremendous number of different things, and they're very unique and not found anywhere in the modern medicine. So I'm just giving you a little bit of hint about what classical medicine can do and why you might want to look into classical medicine to see what's so special about it and why I call my practice transformative Chinese medicine. Thank you, and I'll see you next time. Bye.